Hi all, I'm the consultant, and I've been speedrunning this game on and off, along with like bingo, which is like another form of speedrunning, for like probably like 6 years at this point. Um, and I've played a lot of different categories, including extension categories. Yeah, and thank you GTAs for having me on. And this is, I brought a commentator. His name is Mutant Nora. He's also been in the community for a long time. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm Mutant Aura, more commonly known as Mutant, I guess. And yeah, man, I've been around for probably similar to you, about 6, 7 years, doing various things, all dungeons recently as well, hence why I'm here. Um, but yeah, everyone knows that bingo is the lifeblood, so.
Um, yeah, it's all on our side. Yep.
Yeah, you look
But yeah,
raring
when
to
you're
go.
ready, you can just give me a countdown, and I'll have to switch to the stream audio so I can get it synced. So, oh wait, okay, there's something I got to do. My live splits and my key to push to talk in Discord is the same, so that's not good.
Excellent.
We're trying our best here.
Yeah, it's the small things you don't quite think about until you're actually in the chair.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. He keeps doing it. All right, give me a second.
Just turn off global hotkeys with 8 on live split, so you just have to click on it, I guess.
Mine's 0. I feel like everyone has like.
The thing is, they are off.
Oh,
That's the
what?
confusing part.
What?
Um,
Huh.
okay. Yeah, I'll just quickly change it because it's supposed to be spacebar. I don't know what my control key is doing, so I'm gonna just change that real quick and then we can start. So if you have something else to say before to kill some time here, that'd be great.
Imagine having push to talk and not just like farting into the mic.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, if we're going to talk about anything else, I guess we'll go into like the category itself in a little bit, but it does have the extension of no SRM, and we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about what SRM itself is. All you need to really know is that quite an infamous glitch changes how the game is fundamentally played, or at least that's the sort of consensus that the community had a few years back. So almost every major category that existed before is split along the SRM line, apart from a couple that just said, nah, we don't want anything to do with it. But all dungeons is one category that has like variations, and this is no SRM. So this is the more sort of, I guess you can call it classic these days, the more classic OOT gameplay. Although, yeah, classic in quotation marks because it's still very busted.
All right, so I am ready to go. So if you could give me a countdown from 5 when you're ready, I'll go ahead and start the timer, and you can get this run going.
All right, sounds good. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I would have clapped, but I'm not sure how well the mic's going to pick it up.
So yeah, I've been running this category very, very on and off for a couple of years. The world record. So the cool thing about this category is that N64 and Wii Virtual Console versions of the game are actually fairly competitive, unlike most categories where Wii Virtual Console is preferred. Um, and the cool thing, the even cooler thing about that is that their routes are like, because of the capabilities of their emulators and versions of the game, are entirely different.
Yeah, it's a very nice intersection of like a lot of different things that work together to make it both very different and very competitive. Usually, the routes between versions and consoles and all the rest of it will be different, but maybe not on the competitive side. But this is a very rare exception to that, and the reason why a few people are sort of more invested in one over the other. But for the category as a whole, all dungeons, it's not as simple as it first sounds on the tin. In general, we define a dungeon as, if you've played the game before, you'll know that certain places have blue warps at the end of them when you beat a boss, and we define a dungeon as anything that has a blue warp at the end of it. So things like your usual child dungeons, Deku Tree, Dodongo's Cavern, those have blue warps, Forest Temple, all of the main adult temples have blue warps in them. But most notably, things that you might consider dungeons, where you get, Ice Cavern, Iron Boots, Bottom of the Well as like the precursor to Shadow Temple, they don't have blue warps, they don't have bosses at the end of them. So we do not consider those dungeons, and they are not required to get the completion for the category. Ganon is also not required. That's a hotly contested a few years back. That was all the rage in like 2017.
Yeah, basically right before I started playing. Yeah.
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 Ganon is not a dungeon.
Yeah. I personally like that because I don't think Ganon's like that exciting of a boss compared to something like Majora. So it's just kind of like this added thing you just have to do at the end of some categories. But other people have different opinions, and it's good to have diversity, right?
True. And it's worth noting that you still have to reach the credits in every OT speedrun. You can't just beat the final dungeon and sort of hit the timer. You do have to get to the end of the game. And one of the routes to that is Ganon, obviously. There are alternative routes to that, which, if you can use them, they are going to be faster. So we will not be seeing Ganon today, but we will be seeing the credits. Now, this opening section is pretty much just about rupee collection. Kikiri Forest is absolutely crammed with rupees, primarily so that the fact that it's a kid's game and the fact that there is a rupee lock on the shield sort of goes together to mean that there is money everywhere. But we only need 35 because we are not intending to buy a lot of stuff. We're just intending to buy enough items that we need to basically get out of child section and become adult as fast as possible, with a few minor sort of asterisks on that.
Yeah, so like most non-SRM categories, and even a lot of SRM categories, like kind of follow a similar pattern in Ocarina of Time, because you kind of adult, if you know anything about this game, a big game I didn't buy. A big part of this game is like switching between child and adult to do certain things in certain dungeons. And in speedruns, adult is usually the way to go. It's just, you can walk faster, you can reach more ledges. It's better to play as adult. So usually you just try to get adult as soon as possible in most categories.
Yeah, it's just the factor that Child Link, it's one of those things where Child Link can't do all the dungeons. Adult Link can, so if you can avoid like having to go back and forth, then you're gonna pick the version of Link that is just better at doing literally everything. There are some caveats to Adult Link that, some of the overworld is different and it requires you to, do different things that are maybe slower in isolation, but overall it's not really close. Just doing a little clip there to get out through the Aqua Gate that you usually need to dive for. And yeah, I mean, just geometry in the game it's not great. Most things are clippable with enough speed, or with the correct angle, and yeah, we're going to see it a few times just to get out of bounds and get to load zones. But this section here is mainly about managing the time of day, so the game has a day-night cycle that's on a ticking clock. The goal of this section is basically just to get enough rupees to buy the Hylian Shield, but try to reach market before we get to nighttime. We have unfortunately missed a 20 rupee check that we wanted to hit, but there are backup rupees everywhere, but it will unfortunately mean that we probably won't make castle before night.
Ah, whoops.
Oh, that's a shame.
That's fine.
So that was an attempted west there, a water extended super slide, which it allows you to keep like recoil speed through water, and recoil speed in general is really fast. You can get recoil off a lot of different sources, and we'll see some in the future. But that was using water and a very precise analog stick position just to maintain speed off the wall jump. But unfortunately, you have to keep holding that position the whole way, and if you drop it at all, you lose all the speed.
Yeah, it's something worth noting if you haven't watched speedruns of this game before, that VC, Wii VC, and N64 have different mappings for their sticks. So while it's like very easy to hold that specific position you need for those the Wesses and, as you'll see later, Hesses on N64, it's like a lot harder on Wii VC without the use of a special adapter. Here we're going to be collecting the cuckoos. We're going to be getting the bottle after we collect all of them for the cuckoo lady. The bottle is extremely useful for a lot of glitches that we're going to be doing to skip cutscenes. And also, we don't have an ocarina, so we can use bottle to kind of act as our ocarina.
Yeah, bottles are just incredibly powerful. They can do a lot of different things, and it's almost you will very rarely see a category that isn't either extremely short or has very weird restrictions that doesn't choose to get bottle. Usually, if you're doing anything as adult and you don't specifically ban the things that bottle is good at, it's never wise to skip. And this is just the standard chicken route. It's been tried to be optimized many times over the years, but it's stayed the same for about a decade now. The only thing that we have here is nuts, which allow you to sort of move the chickens along a bit in the right direction. If you throw them and throw a nut at them, they will move in a straight line directly away from Link, which sort of allows you to sort of avoid a lot of the RNG that they have when they're just sort of freestanding. And we're just heading to the well now via a Navi dive, which basically is just a cutscene dive. So you stop the water effects on Link by activating a cutscene, in this case Navi, and you just drop right to the bottom.
Yeah, and here I'm gonna do a glitch to get early twos, and this glitch is 1.0 exclusive. It's called blank A.
Yeah, so you'll notice that the A button is indeed blank. There's nothing on it, the big blue button. I don't really know exactly how it works. It sort of messes with.
The game gets confused. No, okay.
Yeah, the game gets confused. Yeah, it allows Link to like clip through a lot of geometry that you wouldn't otherwise be able to. And yeah, well, bomb chews are in bottom of the well. They're really easily accessible. And using that trick, you can get them very quickly. It used to be a sort of 1.0 only thing that you could get chews quickly, but it's sort of evened up a bit in recent years. So other alternatives that are more difficult but still pretty quick have been found on 1.1 and 1.2. But if you have the opportunity to do it on 1.0, then it's still usually recommended, just because it's so it's relatively simple.
Yeah, and the thing about the way that God. choked.
Ooh, that's tough.
I think I can still. I think I'm
Yeah,
fine,
I just turn around ASAP. Just doing a quick backup here because this bridge, as with most things in older video games, and I mean even newer ones to be fair, if you're not looking at them, they sort of exist, but they're still sort of frozen in the last state that they were genuinely seen in. So if the last time you saw this bridge was when it was up, even if it's nighttime, it will still be technically like down as far as the game is concerned until it updates as soon as you see it. So you can get on the chain there, and then it will just snap to update right to the top. I think we call it Schrodinger's bridge, but extremely useful when you miss getting there before nighttime falls.
And so again, optimally you get castle before night here, and you save a couple of seconds. Don't know exactly how much. We want to get Hylian Shield here for adult because Hylian Shield is really important for a lot of the glitches we're going to be doing. But since we're here at night, the Market Bazaar isn't open, so we're going to have to like clip in using a setup. So here I'm going to be doing the Door of Time skip, which is probably one of the most famous skips.
Yeah, it skips a absolutely massive chunk of casual gameplay. The first 3 child dungeons and you know, going to Zelda, all this stuff, getting the Ocarina of Time, watching loads of cutscenes to get the Song of Time. Just an absolutely huge when it's found, and well, yeah, this category would be a lot longer.
Yeah.
As would every other category,
Yeah, you would
other than a
have to,
few.
You would have to do the first 3 child dungeons to basically get to adult or do anything, pretty much. Which I guess for this category wouldn't be a big deal since you have to do all the dungeons anyways, right? But
yeah, I mean, it would definitely like having to go through the whole like Zelda cutscene and like getting the Ocarina of Time and all the rest of it would still be a huge issue. That's a solid multi-minute cutscene right there. But speaking of solid multi-minute cutscenes, literally the only major one that we really have to watch anymore. We're quite lucky in that all dungeons has the, I think it's the lowest or the second lowest. I can't remember anymore because any percent exists now. But I know for a very long time it used to be the category with the lowest cutscene to gameplay ratio. So this is really the only major cutscene that we have in the entire run, which is why it's extremely fast-paced from here on. Any cutscenes that are in front of us, there is a cutscene skip for that ultimately you would get. So any further cutscenes than this means, well, bad things.
yeah, because we want to skip all the cutscenes. Yeah, I mean, that's what's really cool about this category, is that it's a lot of gameplay, unlike a lot of other categories where you're just kind of mashing through text a lot. But it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because the downtime can be good sometimes. Like constantly having to be on top of like all of your gameplay is a little stressful. But I'm sure. I don't know if there's any cutscenes in Super Mario Brothers for the NES, to be honest. Maybe entering the
like,
pipe.
Yeah, like between every level, there's a good amount of downtime. So
Lengthwise, they're also very different. Obviously, your runs are. I mean, Warpless is what, like 20 minutes ish.
20, yeah.
Yeah.
Just about.
So I don't even know what the longest Mario categories are for the NES, and if anyone even plays them.
I think that'd be 100% for SMB3. That's about an hour 10.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I think I saw something sold on that.
crazy. Hour 10 as longest is absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have it easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the longest. I think we have a. I think I've timed this, and I think it's literally the longest break you have from here is 30 seconds at Phantom Ganon. That's like the longest you can put your controller down for.
How long is like the Twin Rova ending cutscene?
You gotta mash though.
That's true. Yeah, because the text appears faster
Yeah.
if you mash. That's only what like world record players do. That I'm kidding.
Yeah, tell me you don't mash, man. But no, we're coming to the end of this now, and basically just heading into the first adult section, which is just going to be getting to hookshot as quickly as possible. Very useful item, and honestly, one of the items that is genuinely usually just used as it was intended. Well, outside of like 2 uses, just a very versatile item. It does damage, it brings you places, and in general, we'll just be utilizing it as, really as a tool as it was intended. But a tool we will not be utilizing as intended are bomb chews and bottle. Now, we only have 10 bomb chews, and explosives are extremely useful. And it would be crazy useful to have more bomb chews. So one of the other things that we're doing in this next section is finding some more bomb chews, because 10 is really not enough to last us, an hour and a half.
Yeah, so here I'm pretty much just like walking to Kakariko so I can get the hook shot. And luckily our first dungeon is in the graveyard, so we will be doing that. Here I'm going to be attempting what's called a hyper-extended super slide. Goddamn. I mean, family-friendly phrase.
I personally don't care.
There we go.
People are used to me cursing a storm on my streams, so.
Yeah, so this is the similar concept as the Wes I talked about earlier, where instead of keeping the speed that you get based on like a jump / recoil, you're keeping the speed that you get based on like when Link gets pushed back by an explosion, which is actually really high. It's the highest speed you can naturally attain in the game. It's negative 18. And if you maintain that, it's the fastest the Link can move under normal conditions. This is going to look super archaic, but the main goal of it is to just... unfortunate. But the main goal of this is to get a bottle onto Link's B button. And I'm not going to explain the intricacies of RBA. It's a trick called RBA, Reverse Bottle Adventure, which is a very cool name, I think. But what it's going to fundamentally allow us to do is put whatever we catch in this bottle B, or this B button with a bottle, somewhere else that isn't like where it's meant to go, basically. So usually, if you think about where you're gonna, if you caught something in that bottle on C right, the game would put, say, bugs or fish into your inventory, wherever that bottle came from. But where does this B bottle come from? And what the game's going to do is going to say, well, it came from my C right slot. So it's going to put whatever we write into our B bottle into wherever C right is looking at. And at the moment, it's just looking at its own bottle slot. But if we put something in the bottle, then we can maybe put it towards something like our bomb chew count. If you put other items there, you can start to go further down, like the big memory table. You can give yourself things like warp songs. You can give yourselves dungeon keys. And if you had super far items, you can actually start to like mess with like dungeon flags and stuff. Super powerful. And some other categories showcase RBA to its full potential, but we are literally just going to be using it to print ourselves some more bomb chews by catching a Poe and then dropping and catching, and that will literally write the value of the bottle into our ammo count. It's Yeah, it's a trick that spans from just quirky like ammo count manipulation up to pretty outrageous stuff quite quickly.
Yeah. And I would say if anyone is curious and wants to get a little nerdy, Danny B has a great video on it. And it's like counterpart BA, which is just Bottle Adventure.
Yeah, BA is another crazy one. It's like well, I mean, it literally is the opposite of RBA, even though this one's technically the reverse of BA. Just don't think about the names too hard.
Yeah, the names are like what made in 2010 or something.
Yeah. But Consultant's just dropping the B bugs now, and he's gonna catch them again. And then when we check back on our inventory screen, we're gonna see 29 bomb chews, and this is literally because bugs in a bottle are like item 29. So we've literally written like the item number to our ammo count number for bomb chews. And we can do this as many times as we need, which is why, you know, the category actually does have some decent fallbacks. You know, if we fail a few tricks and we lose all our bomb chews, we can literally just grab some more.
So what I did there was a trick called hookshot jump. Basically, when you bonk into certain places with hookshot in hand and like target, you get this like weird state where you can perform like this crazy jump. I don't know if I fully understand how it works, but that's how I understand it.
Very few people know exactly how that hookshot jump works.
Yeah, that's the decomp folks, I'm sure you know. Yeah, so what that enables us to do is we basically are like above the graveyard in that kind of like out of bounds area, and that basically the way the load plane of the stairs down to Shadow and the entrance to Shadow work is it only loads like if you hit like a certain load trigger, and by being a certain height above it, we can basically skip the load trigger. And if you know anything about this game, to enter Shadow, you typically need like Din's fire or a fire source to light torches to open the door in front of it. But since the door isn't loaded, we can just kind of like side hop right into it.
There, chance you can raise your mic audio up a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Pause the timer.
Can't believe you're losing time over this, man.
Oh, I didn't realize it would. My bad.
Nah, he's fine. He's fine.
I meant to clarify when you have a moment.
Maybe my Discord audio is low. I don't know. Let's see.
Or
This
you
better?
could, like,
This better?
maybe lower the game in Discord a tiny bit if that's easier.
I just turned it off.
Yeah, I think so.
So, as a bit of background, this game has all of its load zones in the map that you're in, and everything like that. All the collision is always loaded, even if you're not in the room where it's present. So right now, like literally every load zone in Shadow Temple is active somewhere out there in the void, including the load zone for the boss door. And that means that if we can get out of bounds from any room and somehow reach that load zone, then it's not going to care. It'll take us to the boss, no questions asked. Now we can do some quite precise slashes to get out of bounds in the hover boots room, get down here, then perform what we call a ledge clip and combine it. Ooh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. You have to do an S turn for this, and it's kind of hard to tell if you've done an S turn. So I thought I did an S turn, and I didn't. So that's fine. Luckily, the way I do this is with a triple slash clip, and that means it doesn't take any explosives, and so I can try it as many times as I want. It's just Yeah. Loses time.
Loses time, yeah. But yeah, I mean, where Consultant was before, I mean, it just looked like a load of green, but that was actually the pre-boss room, and he was literally stood like right outside the boss door. And what he was attempting to do is basically drop a bomb chew, explode it with a Deku Nut straight away, and then get a ledge clip right as the bomb chew hits him, so that it will push him like under the ledge into the load zone. That's what we're attempting to do here. So this is just movement to the boss door. He's going to grab a ledge just outside the boss door and then set up for this ledge clip. So he's right against the door now. He's going to turn around. And then literally getting a ledge clip, and then the bomb chew's going to hit him into the load zone.
Everyone clap. Oh, this isn't GDQ.
Yeah, I will not clap because I think it will probably just peak so badly.
I unfortunately don't have a soundboard, otherwise I
No.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be the motto for a lot of dungeons going forward, is like, if you can touch the load zone, it doesn't matter where you are, like, if you can somehow get to the boss load zone, preferably from as early in the dungeon as possible, we can skip a lot of boss keys. Well, all of them actually, like that.
So what I'm doing here is I'm doing ISG, which is interrupting your crouch stab with something like a sign, or like in this case the Navi text when you press C up and target on Bongo Bongo. And what this does is it basically makes the game think that you're like constantly swinging your sword. It's called infinite sword glitch. And that enables me to just like... also, something else in this game is power crouch stabs. So crouch stabs don't really have... they don't have a default damage value, so they take the damage of your last attack. Oh god, I did the non...
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. We're just gonna watch the cutscene, guys. Gonna watch the cutscene. So I got thrown off there because the setup to skip this cutscene that we're watching is different based on whether you have critical health or non-critical health. And so usually when you get here, you have the critical health one because it's faster, and that's just kind of how your health works out. So I did the critical health one based on memory, but I didn't think to myself, oh, I need to do the non-critical health one. So we're watching the cutscene, not a big deal. Again, as long as you watch the cutscene, as long as you get the reward from the end of the dungeon and the blue warp, it's still a valid run. And this cutscene specifically isn't that long. Cutscenes like Forest are pretty long.
Yeah, this one also doesn't really have any strings attached. Like, it's going to put you in a similar place as if you'd skipped it. But I guess it gives us time to maybe talk about sort of what the mechanics of it are. So we said before that you can use a bottle as an ocarina, and primarily you cannot use an ocarina in a boss room, but you can use a bottle in a boss room. And if you pull an ocarina, literally any ocarina, if you're allowed to use the regular one, it would work as well. If you pull an ocarina or a bottle ocarina at the edge of a blue warp, it will like it will put it in like a suspension state until you like cancel your ocarina playing. But if you do this, you regain control of Link. So with this new control, if you can like kill Link on the same frame that the warp's going to take you away, it's going to give you the rewards of the cutscene that's just about to start, but you won't have to actually watch the cutscene, and that was what was attempted there. So what was supposed to happen is you use the bottle to like play a fake ocarina on the warp, and then you walk into like the poison pit around the edge of the bongo arena to kill Link and skip the cutscene. But
it's okay. Bonnaroo, I'm pretty sure, like, failed Shadow cutscene skip in, like, one of his PBs, and he's a very good runner, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's... all these things are extremely precise. Like, they have setups, but like, if anything goes wrong, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
We're collecting a few things here. We collected the egg that we're going to use later. There's no point going into it now. But we're also selling our bugs to the beggar for 50 rupees to buy a fairy, which we'll use straight away. But we're just going to continue on our way collecting things that are useful. Our next stop is Dodongo's Cavern, which is a dungeon, but we will not be beating it in one trip. We will come back later. Our first trip will be primarily just to grab the bomb bag. Because, you know, as the common phrase goes, you can never have enough explosives in your inventory.
Okay, that's fine.
I say that all the time.
So, my health is a little weird here. Usually I would have, like, well, I would have 3 hearts after Shadow, and then I would, kind of do, like, a damage buffer, to, take 1 heart of, I'm just gonna do this. Doesn't matter. I would have 2 hearts, basically, going into DC. And we want to have half a heart, for this upcoming trick. So we actually take damage from the lava. But if you have a 1/4 heart, the trick that we're about to do doesn't work. So we're going to, do this for a little bit. And as Ian said before, we have to beat DC, but we're not beating it yet. So for the time being, we're going to light the eyes so that we can open this up, so that we can go to the boss later. And then we're going to get bombs. And how are you going to get bombs? By skipping most of the dungeon.
Yes, this is another variety of a hookshot jump. We said before you can pull it off by getting into like a weird bonk state, but this is another method where if you interrupt like the hookshot making contact with the ladder with Link dying, I don't know why so many of the tricks in this game just involve Link dying, but it is what it is. And if you interrupt it with his death, you'll also get a hookshot jump. The downside is that Link's dead, so you do actually need to be revived at the top, hence the fairy.
Yeah. And I asked if we could actually do this category without bombs to Mutant before. It'd probably be slow. So...
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do it as a challenge run, I mean, no one's stopping you, but...
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, you know, sometimes skipping things is fast, sometimes skipping things is slow. It's only so close to the bone that you can cut before it starts to be,
Yep.
starts to hurt you more than help. But now we are pretty much in the middle of our collection phase. We've got the items we need, pretty much, and we're just going to get some warp songs. Now, the warp songs are usually located, like, right outside the dungeons that they relate to. And the question could be asked, like, well, if you're going there anyway, why not just do the dungeon there and then? And to that, I would answer, that's, like, the router's job to worry about, not mine. But the other answer is that some dungeons have very favorable conditions and like warps that we might want to take advantage of later in the run rather than like right now. DC being one of them, and Fire Temple, which is in this area, being another. But we do want to be able to get back to them quickly when that opportunity arises. So the warp songs make a lot of sense to get here, and especially if they're in remote locations. Watch out, you're on, yeah. I was gonna say, I hope you didn't do the death one. Oh, sorry, the bomb tube.
Yeah. I was supposed to take a half heart of damage from falling to that little platform with the Beamos on it, but I didn't, so I had to do something else there, which I knew from Bingo. Wow.
Yes. Yeah, so cutscenes, as I may have mentioned before, I'm not sure, it all blurs together. Anything that gives you like a reward, so medallions, warp songs, literally anything, the game gives them to you on like frame 1. So if you can enter a cutscene and then die, you will walk away with whatever it was meant to give you. So in that case, that cutscene gives you Bolero. We entered the cutscene and then the heat killed us. So we still get Bolero, we just don't need to listen to like Sheik teach it to us and play it and all the rest of it. And the same is going to be true of a second warp song coming up, but we're going to skip it, hopefully, without dying.
Wow, a lot of faith in me. No, I'm kidding.
We'll see, we'll see. Mido blocks the path here. We can maybe get a mega flip, nice. Just basically extending your backflip distance and speed using an explosive again. Gives you just enough height and speed to get past Mido there without playing Saria's song, which we obviously don't have. Using a ground jump here, which is like basically like storing animation. Very easy trick to learn and very useful for skipping mazes and stuff. It basically gives Link like a jump.
Yeah, it's one of the only glitches that's allowed in like standard randomizer, which is basically like glitchless randomizer, which is the main form of randomizer competition everyone does.
Yeah, and this section's very dense, but the main thing is we get a trick called Return A, which lets us like walk on slippery slopes and seams and stuff, and then we clip out of bounds. And we void right as that cutscene starts, so we now have Minuet. No death, like I say, anything that interrupts a cutscene will work for us. A void is one of those things. And we are out of our collection phase and into the sort of main, I'd say the main dungeon rush section of the category. We have everything we need to beat the game now, basically. We're missing one thing, but we're in good stead to just blitz through a lot of dungeons. Getting a Hess here from the alcove to get over this wall. And again, similar to how we entered Shadow Temple, just to basically bypass the load trigger that would load the Deku Tree's like front section, like the mouth, and everything that would block the load zone. We do the exact same thing, and without his mouth blocking the way, the load zone's completely accessible.
And I just did something called a super slide there, just to be a little fast.
And as is the case with most dungeons, the goal here is going to be to skip right to the boss from as early in the dungeon as possible. Deku Tree is no exception.
It's fine, just try again. The cool thing about this is explosives are fairly lenient.
Yeah, you're never really worried about it unless you're sort of very much in that sort of optimal range of times. But just again, a mega flip there clips you out of bounds enough speed, and the load zone is still out there in the void, and we just hit it with the correct angle, and we're in the boss room.
You want to talk about blue warps and bosses?
Oh yeah, sure. So this is a trivial boss. There's no complexity.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Sorry, yeah, it was totally unfailable, as Jeep would say. But there's the difference that we're gonna see in this blue warp.
No! Oh my!
Nice. I would. I'm not really sure. I'd nut again, maybe. Yeah, I think you might have this still. This is interesting. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. This should be fun. But the difference between a warp like Shadow Temple and these child dungeons is that we can actually wrong warp off of these blue warps. And the reason is, like, all the mechanics of the cutscene skip are the same, but these blue warps don't take you to, like, the Chamber of Sages. So as an adult, you get taken there and, you know, the sage talks to you and all the rest of it. But these warps take you to other places, like the Emerald cutscene, or the cutscene where Darunia gives you the ruby and all the rest of it. And these are special in that they can actually wrong warp you to places when you do the cutscene skip. So in Deku Tree, in Dodongo's Cavern, in Jabu, and actually Fire Temple is the weird one. As adult, Fire Temple does have a wrong warp possibility. Those 4 dungeons can wrong warp you. And we'll be taking advantage of 3 of them. This is the first one we'll be taking advantage of, and then we're going to chain a second one after that. If this works, we will soon find out. I think it looks good. Hey, clutch.
Clutch, we did it. Yeah, I mean that wrong warp and the upcoming wrong warp are huge reset points, because they require, for one, counting bomb flashes. Like, only 2 frames of the bomb flashes work for those specific setups. And that requires pause buffering, which on N64 is highly variable and depends on lag and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's easy to just hemorrhage time.
Yeah.
By being like too safe or not safe enough. Anywhere in between. But this was a more minor wrong warp, you could say. Like, we've already been to DC. And you know, as nice as it is to get here quickly, it might not be as sort of visually obvious why it's useful. But the thing is, if we were gonna have to skip the Deku Tree cutscene anyway, which we would have done, this wrong warp was gonna happen either way. So making use of it by doing 2-trip DC is the most optimal way you can do that. But DC's wrong warp is a lot more visually obvious why it's valuable to do. It takes us a lot further away to an area we haven't been yet. And I'm not going to talk about the boss because it is the most joke of a boss possibly in the entire series. It goes down like a rock star though. Once you see it, you never unsee it.
Can I have some praises in the chat?
Yeah, you failed this earlier.
I failed this today.
You won't fail it again, don't worry. Faith.
Ah! Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
Yeah. just do the backup. It's
yeah, I know.
It's pretty easier to see. Yeah.
That's something that can happen, and it just happens, and you just lose time. That's called a fish troll.
Yeah, when you drop stuff, if you have bugs, each one of the bugs has like a random movement they can take, and you might not be able to catch them again. Fish is more consistent, but there are certain motions, like wiggling motions, it can do that will put it just outside the range of a bottle swipe. And this happens very rarely, but when it does, it's an absolute pain in the ass because you have to just reset your entire setup, and usually do a slower version. But that looks good to me. And again, dying on the same frame that this warp wants to take us away, we get given the stone, but we have the added benefit of being brought to the desert, which we haven't been to yet and is a bit of a pain to get to. Not like difficult, but it just takes a while.
Yeah, in GSR you start from Temple of Time because there's no wrong warps to Spirit Area allowed. And you start from Temple of Time, you hess through all of Hyrule Field, and then you get across the bridge either with a Mega Side Hop or a hess.
Yeah, it's a good, minute and a half sort of detour, especially if you have to go back through like Market and stuff like that. And again, with a lot of these things, like, we want to skip these cutscenes anyway. The wrong warps are like almost like bonuses, right? Like, for example, on for the Wii version of all dungeons, like, they will perform like a wrong warp out of like Fire Temple. and not use the wrong warp at all, like just literally just warp away straight away. But because it's just always better to skip the cutscene no matter where it takes you. Just trying to get another Hess here. Wasteland is the main gimmick here when you play normally is that in the first section you're supposed to follow all the flags, and in the second section you use the Lens of Truth to navigate through the second part of the wasteland. But
ooh,
the
not
route,
going well.
not going well, yeah.
That's okay.
I mean, you can walk if you
I
really
can,
need
all right,
to.
one more try and.
Yeah. But the route is always the same. It doesn't like randomize or anything. Like it's not procedurally generated. So if you just memorize where to go, you can either walk through the whole thing, or as Consultant's doing here, you can Hess through the whole thing, which is much trickier because A, you're going backwards, and B, you have much more limited control over Link, and you have to react a lot more quickly.
Okay.
This is interesting.
Yeah. All right, I can just walk. It's fine.
Yeah. But that's the general idea. You can also walk it, as Consultant's going to do now.
Yeah,
but...
and even like top runners don't do full Wasteland Hess because it's that hard, right? So yeah, if I was maybe playing a little safer, maybe I would just do half Wasteland Hess. But
yeah, I mean, if you're going for, it's one of those things where if you're going for like a seriously like top time, it's one of those things where you don't really want to lose the 30 seconds or so. So you sort of, as the sort of skill level rises, I think it's becoming more and more like, I gotta learn this now. But yeah, definitely if you're just going for like a major milestone or like maybe top 20, things like that, it's not quite there like required yet, but I think it's gonna get there one day. But just following the route here, as I say, it's completely static. It's not friendly to my bitrate either, but...
oh yeah, it looks fucking terrible. Yeah, I can barely see anything.
The sand everywhere, yeah.
I've seen worse.
Yeah?
I need to like figure out my RetroTink settings because like I like it. It's just like, I don't know. Doesn't look as good as Zion's capture for some reason. So yeah, we're at Spirit now. And we're going to be doing something called Spirit Hover. You want to explain that?
Yeah, sure. So Spirit Temple's pretty unique in that it has its main dungeon item literally outside in plain view. It's like a dungeon in two halves. You're supposed to clear it as child and adult. So one half of it is designed for child Link, one half is adult Link. We're not going to bother about the child Link side at all. There's nothing useful for us there. All we need is the item that lets us beat the boss, which is the Mirror Shield. And luckily enough for us, it's literally on one of these hands at the top of the dungeon. So if we can just use explosives and ISG to hover onto various seams, we can basically bypass over half of the dungeon. So you just backflip onto this seam, walk up it, and then you are just in range to hookshot this chest here, which is the Silver Gauntlets chest. Just going inside here for safety so that if anything happens, you respawn at the top. And on the other hand, directly across is where the Mirror Shield is going to spawn. So if we can just reach there via a Super Slide, a Hess, anything like that, equip Pulver Boots here, you maintain speed in the air, and we just slide right across the hands and spawn the chest. And this allows us to skip, yeah, I mean, over half of the dungeon. We also start significantly far into it, and yeah, as close to the boss room as you could really hope.
Yeah.
In most categories, you don't have like 9 chews to that hover, and you need to hover with like bombs, like with like manual timing, so it gets a bit sketch. But with 9 bomb chews, it's pretty comfy. Iron Knuckles are like the main sort of mini boss of Spirit, and in general, when you're just fighting them normally, they are a bit of a joke. You can sort of just sit under their feet and stab them. The mini boss upcoming though has some more complexity, but I guess we'll we'll see that when we do.
Yeah, the complexity is it has a cutscene after it.
Yeah, that you want to skip while fighting an Iron Knuckle. Iron Knuckles do 4 hearts of damage, so any hit from them at all kills you in this state. Hence why I'm quite skittish around them, even if they are quite simple to kill on paper.
On paper,
farming bombs there.
On paper, I'm Zudu, you know.
Yeah, on paper. Yeah, on paper I have world record. I just don't. I can't make any mistakes. Just progressing through the rooms here, but backwards. This is technically backwards through the dungeon. You're supposed to come in through the door we're going to leave through, and walk across to the mirror shield, but obviously we're doing this in reverse, so. Stocking up on bombs while we can. There's plenty of. This is one of the few places where it doesn't take a lot of time to farm bombs. They're all sort of en route. And this section is just parkour, really. The boss door is like right in the middle of this statue, right at the top. And we're just gonna use a bomb to clip through the wall here, backflip, do some side hops, do some jump slashes, gain correct positions, side around some collision.
I told
unlucky.
That's fine.
Oh, you almost had that. You could have.
Yeah, I could have parkoured onto the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I should buffer this jump slash. Honestly, might be fine.
You can do.
Yeah, but that's for.
That's for losers, right?
Alright, I don't want to be a loser.
But the main goal is to like get onto this tiny little ledge, like right at the top, and then we can do a couple of like frame perfect backflips to clip us out of bounds. And as is becoming quite repetitive, when we're out of bounds near a boss door, what do? We go towards the boss load zone. So there's one backflip, second backflip, and then literally just roll behind the boss door. The load zone extends like really far horizontally, so if you can get anywhere near it, you'll usually hit it.
Alright, Prage, I died here yesterday. Speedrun. I remember there's this guy called Quick Kieran, and he would just like come into my streams and just go like, Speedrun! And, like make fun of me.
He does it in an endearing way.
Yeah, I know.
If anyone else did that, I think it was malicious, but... Yeah, so this is basically another Iron Knuckle fight. Naburu has a bit more health, and she also doesn't like drop her armor. There's no like phase 2. The unfortunate downside is that she has a cutscene as soon as you kill her. And we want to skip cutscenes, as I said before, by either dying or voiding. Now, dying here would be terrible, so we're going to try and void. Which I think you just did successfully.
Yep.
We will soon find out, yes. So yeah, that happened very quickly, but the point was, get her down to like one bomb hit away from death, do a bit of parkour on the chair, and then clip out of bounds on like a glitchy ledge above the door as the bomb goes off and kills her. So the cutscene starts, Link is falling out of bounds, and he eventually voids, and we skip the cutscene.
Oof. Alright, now I can finish the run. No, I'm kidding. Twin Rova here. One of the more RNG elements of the run, mostly due to the first phase of it, because they basically fly around based on RNG, and you need to like reflect one of the beams from one of them and shoot them at the other, and if they're not like on the screen at the same time, then it's kind of hard to do that. Yeah,
they have like each witch has like an independent AI sort of rudimentary AI system where they'll fly to a location, they will choose whether or not they want to shoot you randomly, and then they will either shoot you or they will move to a new location, and they will do this over and over and over again. The odds of them shooting you are pretty high, but they can just choose not to. They could just fly around forever if the dice roll correctly.
Which is what they were kind of doing.
Yeah. And like I say, when two things are independent of each other, but to damage them, you need to have them both on screen at once, it can be a bit of a pain in the ass. They can also choose not to move after they shoot you, which is what we call like getting a double. They can do it 3 times, you get a triple. And they can also choose to shoot you straight away after the cutscene, which is what we call a quick shot. So you can hear terms like, you know, a quick shot triple, where they shot you really quickly after the cutscene started, and then they didn't move for 3 times, which is like a really, really fast fight. A more regular fight looks like this, where they move around a bit between each shot. You move around a bit. You stun lock the one that isn't shooting at you with the hook shot to make it stay there. And then you just play this on repeat 4 times until the health bar is depleted. And then we move into phase 2, which is a lot less RNG. The gimmick is that you have to absorb 3 of the same element onto your mirror shield. But luckily enough, before Twin Rovers take any damage here, she will always shoot 3 of the same, kind of like a tutorial. But what this means is that if we can just kill her in one phase, then we don't have to like play the gimmick. We can just we can just basically just ignore it. She's always going to shoot 3 of the same. The platforms she moves to are random, but they're not that big of a deal. And again, just literally stabbing her with jump slash damage a few times is enough to the 1 cycle.
And I'm gonna clear the text here, or not make it go faster, I'm sorry. Because you can't clear it, there's no blue cursor thing.
Yeah, text is not particularly intuitive in OOT. It's, there's no consistent rules. Like most of the time, it's better to mash. Most text boxes have like a blue cursor at the end. This is like auto-scrolling text, but you'd think that auto-scrolling text wouldn't matter if you mashed or not. But yeah, most of it actually does. So if you like press the B button early, it will like advance the text box, and it will actually save you like a few frames each text box. But as with every rule, there's a lot of exceptions to it. So it's never really consistent to know like what to do. So I mean, mashing is never really slow, but sometimes there are opportunities where you can not mash. And again, should be well versed in what a standard cutscene skip looks like, getting a fake Ocarina on the edge of the blue warp, and finding a way to die right as the warp takes us away. The only real difference between these is like how the room's laid out. Some rooms lend themselves better to, you know, other methods of doing it. This arena is really weird in that it's a very small platform, so you need to be a bit quirky about it, but same mechanics, same principles.
And this is, well, not our first OI, but our first OI to play a song.
Yeah, and this is why the warp songs were useful to get, because we're out in, you know, Desert Colossus, which is absolutely miles away from Forest Temple, but it's now ideal to do Forest Temple, so we just need a way to get there quickly. And this, you know, getting the song earlier on saves, is less time lost than walking back, so... So while it might have seemed slow, like at the time, you just saw all of the time saved back right there by using it.
Yeah, otherwise we'd have to like literally walk back or something, which is Yeah.
Yeah, and like you can't leave. And the other thing there is that if you ever leave Spirit Temple via the front door, the cutscene to give you Requiem, so the Spirit Warp song starts. So we literally cannot leave Spirit Temple without eating a huge cutscene without a warp song. So it's a bit of a double whammy in that you save the traversal, and you also save the fact that you don't ever need to watch Requiem, because we enter through the top and we never leave.
Don't look. So that's a boss key skip. Of course, as we discussed before, loading zones for stuff are just always there somewhere. It's just you have to, if you can clip out of bounds and hit it, then you can get to the boss really quickly. And it so happens that you can do that in like basically the third room of Forest.
Yeah, I mean, it's the main room either way, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, this fight is, as you know, I feel like every fight is gimmicky. So the gimmick here is there are three Ganondorfs riding at you out of these pictures. One of them is real. Well, sorry, there's two. One of them's real, one of them's fake. The real one is lighter in color and also makes noise. The fake one is darker in color and is silent. And you need to hit him 3 times with hookshot before he comes out and starts phase 2. Not much real complexity, but the first shot, you want to hit him as he hits you to save some time damaging down.
I don't even know if I did that successfully. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you'll find out if you need to do another cycle.
Well,
but that's the only real. Yeah, I think you did. That's the only real like difficulty in this fight is that like getting hit and hitting him in the same phase is maybe a bit tricky. And then the second phase is you're supposed to play tennis, but if you have ISG, it becomes a bit of a joke. Because as soon as the ball touches you, you just slash it.
Yeah, as soon as I like discovered ISG, man, I was done like playing tennis or doing like glitchless stuff. Well, until I tried out glitchless for a hot second.
Yeah, the glitchless fight of Phantom Ganon is extremely it's difficult to do well.
Yeah.
Like, without ISG, it's a lot more challenging to get the optimal route, like the optimal fight.
And the cool thing about this blue warp is it doesn't move to where Phantom...
Again? Twice?
Again. Yeah.
Yeah, it always spawns in the middle, so you can get some really consistent setups for this. Again, same concept, we want to die, and this room, again, is a bit of a weird layout. It's quite tight, quite small. So to get enough distance, we're just going to pull a bomb and free back walk. And drop it and backflip on a certain frame, and it will hit us as the warp triggers. Yeah, these adult cutscene skips are a bit different because they have this like extra like animation to them basically. So we can't just do the like backflip over a bomb method that you can do in child dungeons. And now we're off on our way to get possibly the most important item for the route. This is the reason why the route can only be performed on 1.0 and 1.1. So blank A at the start of the run is useful to have, but not really like something you design a route around. But we're coming up to a trick that is going to allow us to basically get a item very early that has some properties that are going to make ending the game and doing some other cutscene skips a lot more streamlined. Just doing a Hess to get back through Mido here. And then we're just going to perform another ledge clip on this block. Not the one we did as child, because Adult Link is absolutely huge, but same nonetheless. And we see the egg come out yet again. If anyone was wondering what this was for, we don't even need the egg itself, we just need something in that inventory slot. A lot of like checks in the game are not actually for specific items, they're like, is this inventory slot, does it have something in it? So a lot of like triggers for getting items and stuff will only happen if there is something in your inventory slot. Like, you know, you won't get nut drops or bomb drops if something isn't in your inventory slot. We can use it here to as like an alternative to unload the ice around King Zora, just a really neat trick there. But the main thing is a glitch called Hold R, which is like a form of collection delay. He's supposed to give you the Zora tunic here, but if you hold R during this on 1.0 or 1.1, I don't know the mechanics of how it works, but it like delays the it delays like the get item animation enough that it will bypass that like route and give you the frog instead, which is like the next part of his like quest. And the frog comes equipped with a timer built in, and timers are also ridiculously broken.
Well, in fact,
Especially
the cover of Hold R is a friend of the channel.
Yes.
And then you want to get into the kind of the safer route I'm going for as opposed to the optimal route.
I think you're totally fine on bombs, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe I didn't have to farm for that. Am I muted?
I hear you fine.
Just a neat little clip here to get inside the house. Recoil here into a super swim just to cross the lake a bit faster. And we're currently like out of bounds underneath the lake. Prime real estate to get to the load zone of Water Temple, which again extends upwards quite massively as well. Usually you would need like iron boots and you'd like hit a little switch and then walk in with iron boots and Zora tunic and all the rest of it, but the load zone extends upwards above that little cave down there. So if you just swim over the top of it, you will also be entered. There we go. Oh, please target here. My god. Yeah, very laggy console, very laggy game. Runs at 20 FPS most of the time. Actually, not even most of the time.
I love the PAL version.
Yes. 16 FPS not most of the time. I'd say it averages more like 12. Although even the US version averages more like 12, to be honest. But this is just a trick here. So this is the first time we've encountered a boss door that we can't just go around over the top or underneath. But luckily enough, we can do what's called a ground clip, where we get a hover off 2 bombs, and then Link is currently falling really fast, even if you can't see it. So as soon as we get hit by this bomb and drop on the right frame, that's enough speed to clip us through the door.
You can hear me, right, Mutant?
Yes.
Okay. You want to go into the sort of the optimal route versus the route I'm doing?
Yeah, sure. So this is what we call like frog water. As you can see, we have the frog in water. Makes a lot of sense. There's also a route called frogless water, which I won't go into what that means, but you don't have frog in water, and that's quicker to do. because you don't need to like wait for this timer to tick down. At the moment, we need to wait for this timer to hit 0. So no matter what we do, even if we play like absolute gods, there's nothing we can do to speed up this timer. If you do frogless water, then while you won't have this timer to... I'm going to spoil the cutscene skip. We're going to use this timer to walk away. So while you don't have that, the timer you save is that you don't need to wait around for this timer to tick down. So you can play a lot more optimally. And this new route saves about, I think, 30 seconds-ish over frog water.
Might even be
50. Be a bit more,
yeah.
But the downsides are that with frog water, we are allowed to get this heart container. Because the the cutscene skip does not depend on your health. If you pick up a heart container, your hearts are refilled, and that's not good if you need to die. But with frog, you can get it for free, basically. And having more health for the final dungeon makes the route a lot safer. But yeah, the route in general is slower, but more friendly to events like this, because having 5 hearts at the end of the run is a lot friendlier than having 4. But we're going to do the same thing on this warp as get OI and then cancel it. But instead of dying, we're going to use the frog timer trying to warp us away to skip the cutscene rather than death.
Might hear me mashing B.
Yeah. Yeah, so the warp tried to take us away, but the frog timer overruled it. We still get the reward, and we're back here without watching anything. And luckily enough, where we want to go next is Jabu, which is just up this hill.
Whoops.
Unfortunate. But that's the first use of the frog timer here. There will be some others, or well, at least 2 others, but they won't be for a bit. But the timer is still there, and we do need to use it. So this is why the end of this route is quite tricky, because you are literally on a clock. And I know speedrunning usually is on a clock, but you are genuinely on a clock here. You have to do this section in under 3 minutes, which you do have a fair bit of time to do it. But if you start to make any major mistakes, then it snowballs real fast, because if you make enough mistakes that it's no longer possible to complete the section, you have to do the whole section again. There's no you go back to the start. And Consultant here just doing a trick to try and hit the load zone of Jabu Jabu under the ice. Of course, he's not here as adult, but his load zone remains, and it's just underneath this ice.
Clap. Yeah, and you saw me fail it there the first time. So, unfortunately, I'm doing... Well, fortunately or unfortunately, I'm doing basically something called setupless adult Jabu entry, which basically just you do a side hop, side roll, and then you kind of just like wing it in terms of like how forward you stand on the iceberg. And so sometimes you're right about how far you stand, and sometimes you're just like completely wrong. But luckily I was able to just like keep my angle from that and just like try again and do it quickly. And what's funny is about that trick is you have to pause to do it because of the way the game's ice physics work.
Yeah, you won't clip into the ice if you don't pause at least once. It's really weird. I don't think I fully understand it, but it was extremely funny when people found out. I think people were trying to TAS it, and they were like, I'm doing all the inputs right. I'm literally a TAS, and it's not working. It's like, what's the difference? Well, they pause. It's like you pause once and it works. This section is basically as you would play the dungeon casually. The only downside is that we're on a timer. The only way to get Boomerang legit is via this Ruto escort. There is no... we've not found in over 25 years a method of getting past one of the Ruto switches upstairs without Ruto. And you need to do this whole escort quest to get her up there. It's one of the last like real
Oh my god, I'm getting
like barriers.
fucking...
You're getting absolutely rolled. But yeah, it's one of the last real barriers that the game actually has. It's kind of crazy that that's the one thing we just haven't been able to skip yet, but it is what it is. Just doing some timer freezes here. If you backflip and like pull a cutscene item like frog midair, it like stops the timer. So if you think you're like low on time on the timer, you do have some methods to like mitigate it, like timer freezes. But you know, in general, you're waiting for this to tick down. So every time you do timer freeze that you don't actually need to, you are technically losing time. And it's why, like, if you're going for like PB attempts, you need to be really careful about knowing when you're going to timer freeze, how much time you've actually lost on the timer, all of these things, because you know if you do it too much, then you've just wasted like a lot of time. If you do it too little, you might not make the cycle. But this is the switch in general in question that we haven't been able to skip ever without Ruto. That one switch and that one door have no answer. In 26 years, it's kind of crazy. So you know, whenever a new trick comes out and it's like, man, OOT's blown wide open, it's like, yeah, what? Can I get past that door? If not, don't care.
I think this is a little too close to do the before the boss door timer freeze. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, you could just wait if you really want to. You going for the ledge?
Yeah, I'm going for ledge. Yeah.
Yeah, so the other adjustment you can do is that we're looking for what we're looking to do here is like freeze the timer, and you do that by voiding out after it expires. So there's like a small text box that happens when it expires, and if you void out during that, you will respawn with the timer on 0000, and we call this like having frozen the timer. And there are a load of places in Jabu that you can freeze the timer. The whole map is basically clippable.
Down off the jump slash. It doesn't matter. Technically, you're supposed to do this after you enter like this room, but it's fine.
Yeah, but there are loads of places you can do it, and it basically means that like there's like a varying level of like how badly you've messed up. So like if you've really messed up, there's one right outside boomerang that you can do. If you've like messed up a bit but not much, there's that ledge clip. If you've messed up like a tiny bit, there's one in this room coming up. And if you're like on absolute blistering pace, you've got so much spare time, there's two in the boss room that you can do. One is very hard, and one is one is medium-ish, and one is insane. It requires you to basically enter this boss room with like 30 seconds left on the timer, which means your movement from King's Aura to this point has been basically flawless.
I've done it. I've done the Rudo because unlike all the other dungeons, Rudo is on top of the warp with this dungeon, which makes wrong warps actually with this dungeon and CS skips a lot harder, and sometimes not even worth it in the case of this dungeon for at least this category.
Yeah, so I mentioned when I was talking about like the differences, like why you can wrong warp off some of them, that this was a dungeon that you could wrong warp from, but we will not be doing that, and we won't even be skipping the cutscene. Because if you don't want the wrong warp from this dungeon, then it isn't worth it to skip the cutscene, because the cutscene is shorter than the setup for the wrong warp. If you don't need the wrong warp at all, it's not worth it to even bother. Which is good for us, but not good for other people that maybe do want the wrong warp. Collecting our 5th heart here. Baronade is a boss that you fight pretty casually, there's nothing really special there. It does need the boomerang to beat though, so hence why we went through all of Jabu.
Oh no, guys, I stepped into the warp. I was supposed to do the wrong warp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is like the one.
It's like one of 4 cutscenes, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
In this
and it is
category.
the only blue warp that we ever touch without at least attempting to skip it.
Yeah. One of the secret reasons that I run this category that I don't tell anyone is that I just hate Jabu wrong warp, and you don't have to do it in this category. So.
That's valid. Not a very fun one, I don't think. It's a lot of steps to it.
Yeah. I've tried the virtual console version of this route. How many, so like, Nale Sounds, who we know in the community, has, what's his place now? Like 2nd place in,
Yeah, I think so.
2nd place in all dungeons, no SRM on VC. And, he has thousands of attempts. How many runs do you think he's like completed?
Off the top of my head, maybe like 90?
Exactly. I mean, most of those are just West Escape attempts, but still. Most of his attempts, but...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the problem is, though, when you get to that sort of like level when you're competing for world record, it's like... You sort of have to be quite ruthless with like the runs you take forward. It's a very different like ball game to like, you know, if I was doing this, I'd be like, yeah, it's worth it for the experience just to play until the end. But for like people at that level, it's like I've got only so much time, and the next run could be better. But for those of you keeping count, we have done all of the dungeons but one. And the final one that we're going to is Fire Temple. And the reason why we got a timer freeze is hopefully going to become apparent now. Because when you are in hot areas of the game, you get a secondary timer, which is the heat timer. And when this heat timer hits 0, or if you overlay a frozen timer with any other timer, and that timer hits 0, it unfreezes your first timer. So, if we can die to the heat timer, in a certain location, while a certain something is happening, it will unfreeze our frog timer. Are you going to get hit here? Oh, that's crazy. That was absolutely balls of steel. But yeah, it's going to unfreeze our frog timer, and it's going to try and warp us away at that moment. And that can be really useful, and it gives us a lot of power over when that unfreezes, just by manipulating our heat timer. Unfortunately, it does mean we have to do all of Fire Temple with a heat timer. Which is why I said before that it's the reason why frog water is a safer route, because while you can do a lot of these heat rooms on 4 hearts, which gives you 32 seconds, on 5 hearts you have 40 seconds, which gives you 8 extra seconds for leeway around here. And if you die at all, or if the timer hits 0, you have to reset a timer freeze, and you have to come back all over again. So it's a huge time sink if you fail
It's
it.
probably like 20 minutes if you die here, at least.
Yeah, it's big. You have to go back, get the frog again. You have to get the timer freeze again, which takes at least 3 minutes to tick down the timer. And then you have to head back and all the rest of it. Yeah,
at that point, it's faster to get like Tunic, basically. And Tunic requires a bunch of Goron text.
Yeah. And the other downside is if you speak to a Goron, it also unfreezes your timer. So you can't speak to any Gorons. Even though they're literally everywhere, and you need to free them and get their keys. Honestly, Fire Temple is an absolute minefield, and on the 4-heart version of Fire Temple, if you take any damage at all before this section here, it's basically over. You can do it on 3 hearts and 3/4, but it becomes impossible from 3.5 hearts.
All right.
And even then, it's still really hard.
Remind me not to flick here.
Yeah, don't flick. So this is the main section where this is the longest time that you're on a heat timer, and you do a lot of stuff. On 4 hearts, you have about 4 seconds spare to make mistakes. With 5 hearts, you have a bit longer than that, but don't flick. Nice. But you basically need to get up here, push this block, and then let it take you to the top, all before the heat kills you. And if you imagine this timer with 8 less seconds, that's basically what you have with 4 hearts. So you'd be dead now with 4 hearts. You can do some things like timer freezes everywhere, but that's kind of what we mean in that you don't have a lot of time, and it's a lot more stressful.
Yeah. And I definitely did not want to do that in like a speedrun event. Because I've had many runs die. Unfortunate.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, most of Fire Temple now will be pretty casual. Other than this, we're just gonna basically skip this whole maze section here by clipping through this wall. I'm not sure what you're doing wrong here.
I think it's like the target timing. Shout out to Punkation. Oh my god. It's fine. We get basically like 8 more tries at this.
See, I usually like flick down and then flick up again, rather than like targeting.
So, in the other route, that was a weird angle, but we're in there.
There you go.
In the other route, we actually optimally use choose for that skip. So I'm like a little rusty on it. It's also like not that hard. Punkation, shout out to Punkation, but like a Mario 64 speedrunner, like he said once that like something unique about speedrunning is that you just like forget how to do stuff sometimes. Do I have enough hearts for this, by the way, or should I drink Po?
This room?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
So if I drink...
If you beeline it, maybe. I would just drink the Po either way and see. Although I don't know whether there's hearts in this room if it goes wrong.
Rage. Okay. We got lucky. So
good.
You can technically take damage from a Po if you don't have critical health, which is very bad because we don't want to die.
Yeah, it's random whether it like restores anywhere between like, I think it's like 1 and 3 hearts, but it can also take away a heart. So when you're in that situation where you're sort of praying that it's going to give you health, but it can also take away. Like if it took away a heart, I genuinely don't know what you'd do because I don't think there's any hearts.
Just like basically
else.
Cry, be like sorry sorry GTAs, but
yeah, it's over.
Glad it worked out.
Yeah. I guess maybe maybe get like flex drops off the slugs. I haven't checked. Like some enemies like bushes and stuff drop different items when you're at like low health. If you have like 0 bombs or things like that, we call them flex drops. And like some enemies only drop hearts when you're low health, and that might be one of them. I'm not sure.
Who drops hearts? Like Keys drop hearts, but where are Keys around there? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, you know what I could have done? I could have
used the shortcut, I guess.
Ow.
Nice. That's why I never stand there. Always stand by the door.
I stand here usually, but I was talking. Wait. Oh, did I? Yeah. Very clean flame dancer fight.
Yeah, it's always a fun fight to watch people try and fight with. You know the one after you get hammer, and people try and fight this guy with hammer. It's always very funny.
Yeah, because it doesn't do any damage. Yeah.
Because it doesn't do any damage, and you just see people like run around for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, the 50 casual playthroughs on Twitch, you know?
Yeah.
Why isn't this doing anything?
Yeah, I did see that once. Just some guy literally running around a square for like 20 minutes. Like, how much health does this guy have? It's like, no one tell him. But yeah, this dungeon is played pretty normally for the most part. Like, yeah, you do some, direct movement to certain places for keys, and there is that one clip. But in general, it's just beelining to hammer. And as soon as you get hammer, there's a really nice boss key skip that you can do literally in this room from the hammer chest. So it all just sort of flows together as part of the end.
Just shielding that guy to be safe.
So just perform a Hess here. Ooh. Question mark. Nice. Just perform a Hess here to
I like
bounce.
I thought I had to like equip hover boots, and I realized it wasn't one of those.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Definitely not.
The load zone is right underneath this room, so here we are.
Yeah, what we do is the game gets confused. No, okay.
Yeah. Now, Volve is a really interesting fight, and actually quite difficult if you don't know what you're doing. There are actually two hitboxes for Volve. There's one that flies around, and there's one that like sits underneath the holes that pops her head out and stuff. So you can actually damage the one underground while Volve is like elsewhere in the room, basically. So if you can like damage her with bombs, and like the bomb explosion radius is just big enough to reach, and you'll see here where Consultant places bombs to hit.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's unlucky. This is what we call a troll hole, where the first hole that she comes out of is the one that you're trying to damage.
What?
No way. The double? The double?
Oh my god. That is really unlucky.
Timer stop? Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, this might be a rip.
Yeah, that might be a rip. That is just very unlucky, unfortunately.
The double troll.
Double troll hole.
That's
like
crazy.
Yeah. Alright, well, sorry. How long?
Back we go.
How long is our timer at, GTAs?
It's at 1 hour 33.
Maybe it's. I do have a backup for this, so it's fine. But it'll take a little time. God, I was praying at that moment. I was praying at that moment.
Yeah, the double troll is kind of crazy. It's like I was saying, like you're trying to like Volvage's like second body is underneath that first hole that you spawn near. But unfortunately, it is one of the options that she can pick to like poke her head out, which complicates it quite a lot. Getting a first phase troll hole isn't crazy bad, but when you get the double, you have to react really fast. If you're not expecting it, it can throw you off hugely. Yeah. Which unfortunately it's very rare, and if you don't practice it a lot, yeah, it's one of those scenarios where you're not going to get practice at it just by like getting it in the wild, because it so rarely happens.
Yeah, so what I should have done there was I should have like stunned him when he was like to the right, basically. So as we were saying, if you die in fire, this is what you have to do. You have to the only way I know how to timer freeze is to get Tunic. And actually, yeah, that would be faster than any other way of timer freezing, because with Tunic, and now I have to kill this Goron, or bomb this Goron. Sorry if this turns into a little bit of a casual playthrough, because this is not normally in the route.
Yeah, you have to start to do
is
stuff.
known to rub off on people, so you can blame me if you want.
Ah, damn it. Actually, I have choose because I have extra choose. So
You do.
that makes it a lot easier. So I'm just gonna use that. Oh man, how unlucky
Yeah.
can you get, man?
Yeah, I haven't had a double troll hole in, I don't know, man, like 4 years. Doesn't happen very often. Like I say, it's like, I'm not sure whether they're exactly 1 in 9 for each of the 9 holes. I think the middle ones are more like weighted. I think it's like very slightly weighted to be one of the 3 in the middle. But I mean, it is basically like probably 1 in 100 to be honest, which isn't actually that like unlucky, but it just happens. It feels like it happens so rarely.
Yeah, that was
It's fairly bad.
what?
Those odds aren't high, so that is
Yeah.
pretty bad luck, I'll say. But...
Yeah, they're not that bad. And I guess you don't really get that many runs to Volve because it's right at the end of the game. Like, because if you do it, like, nothing went wrong. So.
Yeah, I could have. So I made a conscious choice, right? I could have just gotten Tunic when I went to Goron City earlier before Bolero, but I decided that 5 heart was like safe enough, and I just didn't do it this way. So now I'm gonna get Frog again.
Well, at least now you know what to expect.
Yeah, so like if that happens in a real run, it's run over, fortunately. Because again, it's like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it depends on like how you fail. If you fail by like unfreezing the timer early and it warps you back, then it's not that massive because again you get warped right back to where you get the frog again. So you just like you just get the frog straight away. You hang around for 3 minutes and then you basically just do fire again. But if you like if you genuinely get killed by Volve, you get prescription back without being warped, so you have to literally like traverse the overworld to get back here. So it's like the worst of everything. Because yeah, some fail scenarios just warp you right back here. Unfortunately, this one did not.
Yeah, and so what's interesting is I guess we get to show something off here. So if you warp to somewhere else with a timer in this game, you basically, the timer goes immediately down to like 1, so you basically have no time. But in this part of the world, the heat timer overrides that.
Yeah, so it's meant to stop you from like if you're like this trade, like this frog casually is part of a trade quest, and it's meant to be basically about like you're supposed to cross the overworld and show that you're like you know where to go, right, on Epona in under a certain time limit. But one of the conditions they put is that if you use warp songs to like skip that check, they're gonna punish you by dropping the timer to 1. But here it works well for us because heat timers overrule everything.
And you might be asking, why am I playing Bolero again? Well, when you freeze the timer, it goes to 0. But in order for me to do what I'm gonna do after beating Valvagia, it's going to have to be 1 because I want it to unfreeze and then warp me.
Yeah, you want to have enough time for it to like tick down during the warp. It's all like a matter of like very precise timings, like trying to line up the heat timer, the warp timer, and also like this timer. So when you get all 3 of those, there's only a very small window of like time ranges that those work, and it needs to be there needs to be like some gap between it unfreezing and it warping you away.
Now we're just gonna talk to our friend.
Yeah, we skipped him earlier.
Yeah. I need more bombs in order to kill Valvagia fast. I guess I have Tunic, so I could have skipped this, maybe. But...
Yeah, it's fine. Just don't get the fairy.
Oh yeah, because the fairy will...
Well, it wouldn't do anything in this, it's just if you do the death one, otherwise get bingo PTSD.
Now, because I have the boss key, it's at the start, I can just do this. I got the boss key with a weird shot, which is not in this category. But
yeah,
luckily,
it's a bit weird.
Yeah, luckily from playing bingo a lot, I know how to do one. I'm buffered.
Round 2.
Alright, let's hope this goes better. So how long was that detour? What time is it now?
You're at 142.
Yeah, so 9 minutes.
Ah.
But we are extremely close to finishing, so that was like the furthest spawn possible. You love to see it. But yeah, just dropping bombs in this hole just to hit really so far away each time. You're getting absolutely bodied. But
Oh god, I couldn't see.
yeah, can't see anything. Nice.
Wow.
That's how the fight's meant to go. You drop like, I think it's 9 bombs total in that hole, and then stabbing her twice is enough to kill her without her ever flying around. If you mess up any of those cycles, she does have the potential to start flying around, which wastes so much time that we don't have. And the final time, this should be a pretty common sight now, in that we're going to do an OI onto this warp, but this time, instead of dying or voiding or anything like that, we're going to line up our backflip with the heat timer, which we have a lot of time on the heat timer, but
Yeah,
we're going to line it up. Are you doing a 3 second or a 1 second?
1 second, so even more time.
Yeah, so we're going to wait for the timer to hit 1 second, and then backflip, do the OI, and then cancel the warp with B button, and then wait for the text to scroll across. And if all goes well, the warp will try and take us away to the Chamber of Sages at the exact same time as the prescription warp tries to bring us back to King Zora. Those two will, well, fight, really. And we will get, hopefully, a credits warp.
Time.
And there it is.
Yeah. Barely underestimate. I mean, this could have been like way more underestimate if I just like.
GG's.
But that's why I made this estimate the way it was, because that can happen.
Well, you clutched it out, so
Yeah.
good work. 144.11 is when I got the split on, so somewhere around there. But yeah, thanks for coming on. Good run. I appreciate going for a little bit of the swag stuff.
It wasn't as bad as it could have been.
No.
But you got to the end. You got to the end.
Yeah, there you go.
Underestimate.
But yeah, feel free to self-promote if you'd like to.
Hi all. Mostly I just I have a Twitch stream, the__ consultant. You can also look at my LinkedIn. Just kidding. I stream every now and then, bingos, speedruns, and stuff. So feel free to follow, catch a stream, and yeah, thanks for having me on, GTAce, and thanks for commentating with me, Mutant.
Yeah, no worries. It was a pleasure as always. This is it's one of my favorite categories, so and you've done it justice.